right then. Too Many Movies podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. Let's just get right into it. Ketchup, how you doing?
Doing very well.
That's good. That's good. Oh, well, welcome to this week's last minute episode. I appreciate the last second coming in clutch with this one. Yeah, we're talking about one movie today. It's called Get Shorty. It's going to be a short episode on Get Shorty. Start things off, Ketchup. What did you think of Get Shorty?
Uh, I mean, it's all right. Wasn't super crazy about it overall.
Hell yeah.
Which,
Woo!
which I
Mediocre.
think is really unfortunate because this film was done by Barry Sonnenfeld, who did Men in Black and the Addams Family movies,
Yeah.
and I really love those films, but
Yeah.
I don't know. He did not have that kind of sauce with this one.
It is strange that he has directed the Addams Family and the Men in Black movies, which are very stylized and very fun movies. I love the Addams Family movies and the first Men in Black. I've never seen the sequels of Men in Black, but I love that first Men in Black. It's
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've
yeah,
only seen the first one, but that first one just has like so much personality in
yeah.
the way that the film shot and framed. And I don't know, I just didn't really feel that here.
No, definitely not. I did notice that. I don't think this is like the worst movie ever. I think it has
Oh,
enough
no,
to
no.
it to make it a good movie, but I'm struggling to see it as anything great. And when I go through some letterbox reviews that are praising it as kind of underrated, I just am not there with them. Because I think in concept, I like this movie. It's just an execution. I'm a little fuzzy on what makes it stand out, you know?
Yeah, a lot of this film just feels like the kind of thing that you can look at and say, that's a film with good acting and good direction and good cinematography. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, did I watch something yesterday? Uh,
Yeah.
my letterbox review kind of coined this as like dad doing laundry and catching the entire thing on cable and saying, the film's pretty good type core. And I really feel that's the kind of thing here
Hmm.
because it very much feels like the kind of movie that is made for the cable enjoyer
Absolutely. Yeah.
environment, or like it's good,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, but this really isn't anything that's going to like wow you or really make you like think or really will stick in your mind as something that makes you go, man, I'm really inspired by this one performance or this one shot or something like that. I mean, I haven't seen Gene Hackman in anything else before. This is my first Gene Hackman movie,
Okay.
but I've seen Danny DeVito, James Gandolfini, and John Travolta and other stuff, and at least for the first two of those three, there are definitely other films that I'm way more enchanted by their performances in comparison to this.
Sure. Yeah, I think describing it as a cable movie really it really does seem apt because thinking about it, this movie is kind of a part of a lost art form in the form of a cable movie. You just like catch on cable on a Saturday afternoon, you just passively watch it because you don't really see that anymore. I mean, yes, cable still exists, but it's not the monster that it used to be. I mean, it's monstrous
Yeah,
because it's
we've
fucking cable.
basically like completely moved on
Yeah.
to video streaming. The most
Yeah.
that you might get is like going on Tubi or Pluto TV and just like turning on, say, the Mystery Science Theater
Mhm.
channel and just letting it play
Yeah.
or something like that.
But at least
But
but the thing with streaming content is it is so pumped out that a lot of it there's nothing to gain from it. It's just purely there for the to be pumped out for the streaming service. There's no passion to it. Whereas
yeah,
this was made on a Hollywood budget. There was still thought and care put into it. Just not the stuff that even by today's standards still stands the test of time, a lot of mid 90s stuff. Um but it was not it then gained its own thing when it moved from theaters to then cable or
Mhm.
blockbuster video. Like, I don't know, there was still an aspect of this is gonna eventually grab somebody's attention. It wasn't as, oh, it needs to be the coolest thing ever right now, and then be forgotten a week later. Like
Mhm.
yeah. I'm kind of jumbling my words here, but you know what I mean.
I think like the best comparison we have in the modern day is like a lot of the Netflix fluff that gets pumped out
Mm.
because I believe a couple of months ago, a Netflix executive made a statement saying that they are well aware of the fact that the majority of their watcher base watches movies while doing something else. And to me, that's very much embodies the kind of cable core film that I'm looking at, where it's very much like this 20th century cinema in particular that is very lax in terms of its plot structure and things happening.
Mm.
Like a lot of more recent studio films have like a million things going on that really like catch your interest. And even in of the 20th century, there's still like a ton of things like that. But there's this very particular breed. I think like Beverly Hills Cop is another thing that just like immediately comes to my mind as it's very laid back and it's very actor driven rather than particularly thoroughly character driven. And it's
Mm.
something that like you watch, cuts to a commercial break, you can easily just go channel surf for something else that's going on and watch that and then come back once you feel like the commercial breaks are over.
Yeah. Whereas in the world of streaming, there isn't a ton of commercial breaks because if you're paying full price for Netflix, you're watching the whole thing. But
Yeah.
that comes with its own can of worms because, yeah, like you said, the CEO was talking about how they're aware of that. So they'll have scenes constantly reminding you of what's happening, and it's just utter fluff. And not even
Mhm.
fun fluff. I don't know. A lot of Netflix originals I've never been able to get into as much as I have. Like, at least with Get Shorty, as fluffy as it could be at times, I found more worth in this than I have in a lot of Netflix originals.
Yeah, there's the occasional, Netflix original that I'll watch and I'll be like, "That was a cute time."
Mm.
Hot Frosty comes immediately to my mind, but also, like, I will acknowledge I was building a Lego set while watching that, so it was very much make noise in the room while I'm doing something else,
Sure.
type of cinema.
Yeah. Which isn't cinema, but, sometimes you can find value in that. It's not the worst
Hey,
thing ever.
some Netflix originals have been put in movie theaters.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Hot Frosty was put in movie theaters, but
Oh, classics. I guess to talk more specifically about Get Shorty, so first off, I just want to say the cover makes it seem like it's this heist movie. I don't know. I get very heist movie vibes from the cover, where you have John Travolta, Rene Russo, Danny DeVito, and Gene Hackman on the cover, and then you watch it, and it's not really that. It's more of a gangster slash Hollywood aesthetic kind of movie because it's a movie of
Which is, to be fair, that is at least what Wikipedia coins it as.
yeah.
Wikipedia does coin it as an American gangster film.
Yeah, and it's sort of that. It's not quite Goodfellas, Sopranos gangster film. It's definitely inspiring of that kind of genre. Um, but it's very much a movie about making a movie, but the really boring process before they even start filmmaking, it's just acquiring a script and writing a script, and then it's not even about that. It's this really weird it's this really weird movie about a guy who's a gangster. He doesn't want to be a gangster anymore, so he goes to LA and he instead wants to make a movie. And
Yeah.
I don't think first of all, that's a great concept. I'm totally all for that as a concept. I just don't feel as though the movie takes advantage of that as a concept. It's very very passive, And because they don't even start making the movie within the movie until the very end, and even then it's just a falling action, like fun, oh, where are they now kind of thing.
Mhm. If anything, it kind of feels as if, like, the team behind this film were, like, really afraid of making out the movie making process in a bad light.
Hmm.
Like, they were afraid that MGM executives were gonna look at this and be like, "Are y'all mocking us?" And then the writers would have to be like, "No, no, no, no. It's not about you. We're actually mocking Jeffrey Katzenberg," or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, this other guy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. If cuz I mean, I'm a little skeptical on the whole movie about making a movie concept in general, just because I feel like a lot of movies can fall into the trap of just jerking off Hollywood and other movies that have existed beforehand. Not to say you can't make that concept good. One of my all-time favorite versions of that is Ed Wood, the Tim Burton movie. That's a great film about making movies. But it's more than just making one movie. It's basically about Ed Wood and his philosophy on filmmaking and other things
Yeah, so
around his
that's
life.
more of a biopic about
Yeah.
Ed Wood than it is necessarily like a Babylon style. Guys, I really love movies. Don't y'all love movies too?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it feels a lot to me whenever things like this happen, because it's like there's at least one character that has to be like constantly referencing out movies
Yeah.
to people, and it's like, yeah, I get it. I'm like that too.
Hmm.
But in the world of cinema and character writing, it comes across way more as a disingenuous vacuum of "we all are movie lovers, aren't we, kids?" type of attitude rather than "this is a cool character who happens to like movies too."
Yeah. Oh no, you're absolutely right. And this movie kind of does fall for that because you'll have John Travolta name drop Serpico or whatever, and he literally goes to the movies to watch Touch of Evil. I will say though, I'm not as annoyed with this movie's version of that. I actually happen to like the scene of John Travolta going to watch Touch of Evil in the movie. It's a good scene. I think it could have been executed a little better, but I like the idea of him being this guy who's passionate about cinema. I just also feel like that Touch of Evil scene is one of the only scenes where he's like that. I mean, the only other one I can think of is when he's meets James Gandolfini at the airport, and he's like, "Oh, you're a stuntman," and they start having a conversation about him being a stuntman and how excited he is by that. It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
we need more scenes of John Travolta actually being ecstatic about films and cinema and stuff like that, because I think that can, because those are some of the better scenes in the movie. But John Travolta also is kind of the biggest problem for me with this movie. He's a little too passive in the role. I don't know. I get what they're going for, the cool guy mafioso, but I don't know. I think John Travolta just was kind of phoning it in the whole movie. He was which is not a good thing when your main character is phoning it in a lot, you know?
It really feels like John Travolta sort of had this attitude of, "Well, of course, I know how to do this kind of role. This is kind of
Mm.
my thing," supported by this kind of having the same kind of attitude as his character in Grease and in Pulp Fiction. Obviously not the same thing, but it's the same
Hmm.
general sort of "I know what I'm doing, I have presence" type of approach. But he also doesn't have the same kind of presence as a character,
Yeah.
and I really do have to wonder whether or not that's more of a John Travolta problem or if that's more of a Barry Sonnenfeld problem.
Yeah, because I feel like even when Travolta, because Travolta is a weird actor for me. Sometimes he can be a good actor. I think in movies like Pulp Fiction and Blowout, those are legitimately good performances. But then on the other end of that, you have Battlefield Earth, which is a really bad performance, but the movie and his performance elevated to being this. It elevates the movie to being this whole other level of entertainment. So these are movies
Mhm.
where I love John Travolta in those roles. Whereas I feel like here he's not bringing his A game, and he's not really working a whole lot with the script, and it just doesn't work. And I'm left thinking, why are we here?
Yeah. I mean, for me, actually, no, I can't even say that. There really wasn't any particular performance here that stood out strongly to me.
Hmm.
It just felt, at best, I could say they're good. But also when you start, like, going through, like, some of the other films that some of these people have been in, even in, like, minor roles in other movies, like, Danny DeVito's small role in Beetlejuice is, like, way more memorable than anything he ended up doing in this film.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, Danny DeVito, I think, was kind of wasted too in this role. Again, another actor who I love a lot. I like him more often than not. In fact, I can't even really think of a role I don't like him in off the top of my head. Because yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think this is probably the first one where I'm like, I don't even hate him. I still think he's a great actor in this. Where it's just like, but it's still like you said, nothing's really blowing me away with his performance.
really looking at this list is, like, Migration's on it, and I'm like, "Wait, Danny DeVito was in Migration?"
Oh yeah,
So I can't even really count that,
he
and
was the
then
uncle, I guess.
yeah, apparently, I don't know, I don't remember anything from that movie. And then what, am I supposed to say his bad role was in the Lorax? I mean,
Yeah, but also, well, that's more the movie being bad. He wasn't even the worst part of the
calling
Lorax.
him bad in the Lorax, I think, does a disservice to, like, the entire rest of the film
Yeah.
because, I don't know, it sits in this weird vacuum
Did
where it's funny, but for
oh yeah,
reasons that the movie is not intending.
yeah. Did
But this is also, like, why I think it's more of a director problem overall than it's individually an actor thing, because these
yeah,
are good actors
yeah.
that have good performances and good roles in other things, and then here they just fall completely flat.
Well, so to bring up Gene Hackman, pretty timely that we're bringing him up since he passed away recently. I thought this would have been like, oh, we get to talk about a Gene Hackman movie for this, but actually watching it, yeah, I mean, he's good in the role, but I don't think this really elevate. This is not an example of something that he was amazing in. I, a couple weeks ago, me and PSI, we did an episode on the Poseidon Adventure movies, and he's in the first Poseidon Adventure, and I feel like that movie shows more his strengths as an actor. Um, that was like a great role for him. That was an example of him really showing why he is considered one of the greatest actors who ever lived. And then there's other movies that show that too. Stuff like French Connection, I think, really elevates him as one of the greatest actors who ever lived. Um, so it's just a shame that we ended up happening to watch the one movie that I've seen of him yet, where I'm like, he was there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, looking at this list, we could have been watching, like, Royal Tenenbaums
Oh,
or
that's good.
Unforgiven or
Ooh,
Superman.
oh, all the hits.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, he plays Lex Luthor there. This would have been a perfect opportunity for me to finally get around to some of this stuff.
uh.
No, we're instead watching this random MGM gangster film that we're probably gonna forget about in a day.
We could have been watching Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
I don't think he's in that one.
No, he is. He is.
He is?
He's not
Luther's in
in
all 4 of them?
he's not no, he's not in 3. The villain in 3 is Richard Pryor, which is really fucking funny. No, he did come back for 4, which is funny because
So
he'd be
weird.
you'd think he'd be the type of actor who was like, "All right, you stop bringing me back for these. I want to be in other films other than Superman 4." But I guess all the budget went to him, and I mean it shows in Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
Could have
um
been watching The Mexican as well and
mm,
getting a Gore Verbinski film onto this podcast.
oh, someday, but
Very sad. One day we'll do it.
not yet, Minion, not yet. Um Yeah, no, it's a shame, but you know what? I'll say this. In terms of performances, I actually did like a lot Delroy Lindo and James Gandolfini. Obviously not the best performances I've seen from them yet, but some of the better ones, I will say. Delroy Lindo, he's the bald black guy, who looks like Steve Harvey. Um,
Mhm.
I actually thought he played his role very well, and I wish he had a lot more to do, and so because he was a bit of a kind of the antagonist of the movie, I guess. Um, he's not really made apparent as the antagonist until the very end, I would say, when spoiler alerts he gets pushed off the railing. Um, but I thought he was charismatic enough where it's like, oh, I want to see you in more stuff, and I wish this character had more to do. You know?
Yeah, I I would agree. I would probably say that he's the best one of the lot here.
Hmm.
Um, Definitely is the performance that is going to stick in my mind the longest, and feels the most like, the director actually wanted to get something super good out of him.
Yeah, yeah, he's fun. And James Gandolfini, maybe I am blinded by my love for James Gandolfini because I'm a major Sopranos head, but I think he, for what little he was given, really made me more interested in his character. I don't know, just seeing him at the very beginning, his first scene, where he's obviously a henchman for Delroy Lindo's character, and he's just carrying around his daughter. I thought, wow, what an interesting character already. I wish the movie was already about him. I want to
Yeah,
see
I
an
feel
entire
like
movie about that.
you I feel like you really like James Gandolfini here because he's the only one that feels like a character
Hmm.
rather than just the actor playing their typical role.
Yeah.
Like he really gets absorbed into this character where it really leaves you going, "That's James Gandolfini." And he resonates a lot more personality just from his looks and actions,
Hmm.
where you can really make a lot of assumptions and headcanon ideas about what this character has done in the past.
Yeah, it's really cool because he not only does he have a big bushy beard and big ponytail, which is something Tony Soprano does not have. He also has a southern twang to his accent. He doesn't have like the usual New Jersey accent. He has like, "Hey, it's me, Bear. I'm a bit of a stunt man." I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute, that's different." It did caught me,
Mhm.
but in a good way, it caught me off guard.
It's a very, like, off the beaten path for what we typically know him as type
Yes.
of role, and I really, really like that.
Yes, yeah. I mean, look, he will always be Tony Soprano to me. He played that role so good, and it's always going to be weird for me, but I love finding movies with him in it. That's why I kept this DVD to eventually make an episode on it because I'm like, oh, James Gandolfini's in it. I have to watch it purely because he's in it. So
Funny enough, this would have been my first Gandolfini film if I had not seen, the 12 Angry Men, remake before, where he
he
plays juror number 6.
he is in that. Yeah, yeah. I've always wanted to see that. It is on my 12 Angry Men 4K, so I do have access to it. I just haven't had a chance to
That's
watch
really
it.
cool, actually.
Yeah, no, I always thought that was really cool that the 4K comes with the 97 remake as a bonus feature.
Wonder if that's maybe because like, most rational movie collectors probably would not get it on its own.
I mean, maybe it's a William Friedkin movie, so you'd think they would put that on like a nice 4K, but I guess
You would think.
yeah,
I feel like the general consensus with that one, though, is that it's good, it's just
right.
it's competing with one of the greatest films ever
That's
made.
true. Yes, it is. It's good. It's because it's William Friedkin, a great director, but it is a remake of one of the absolute best movies ever made. So I guess good still
You're like
doesn't
in a
cut it.
losing competition no matter what you do with that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh well. Um, one actor slash actress we haven't talked about that's advertised on this DVD is Rene Russo. She was certainly there, wasn't she?
She's definitely part of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
She did a good job like the rest of the cast. I she's an Avengers actor,
Yeah,
apparently.
she's Thor's mom in the first two Thor movies, and then she comes back for Endgame to be Thor's
Ah,
mom in that one scene where Thor sees his mom. Um,
yeah, probably the best scene in Endgame. It's
Yeah.
either that or the taco scene.
Yeah. She was also in the other she was in the not so good Lethal Weapon movies. So when I did my Lethal Weapon franchise review way back when, she was in Lethal Weapons 3 and 4, and 3 and 4 weren't that great. They had elements to them that I liked. Neither of them were Rene Russo, so it's, look, I'm sure she's a good actor. I'm sure she. Oh, wait a minute, she's in Tin Cup. Never mind. Maybe I still need to see Tin Cup. I was highly recommended it by uh, Ryland and the gang in the commentary for Lake Michigan Monster. I think it was when we did the Lake Michigan Monster episode a couple weeks ago. I watched the Lake Michigan Monster with one of the commentaries, and they kept bringing up Tin Cup, this movie from the 90s, and apparently has Kevin Costner and Rene Russo in it. So you know what? Maybe that's her magnum opus, is Tin Cup. I have yet to see that.
Or it could be The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
That too.
We
That
have
too.
no idea.
That we'll never know until we actually watch it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I have no real comments on her. It's like she's good, I guess, in
Mm-hmm.
the same way that like everyone else is
Yeah.
good, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even though I would say Delroy Lindo and James Gandolfini are kind of the best actors in the movie, I can't even really say the other actors are bad. They play their roles good. That's the thing, is like I'm not. It's just I'm not as passionate with this one. I don't know. I'm like struggling.
Mhm.
I'm trying not to say it's bad, because it's not. I just also can't say it's exceptional.
It's just wildly unmemorable
Yeah.
and just there's nothing really here meant to inspire or like particularly entertain for longer than its runtime.
Yeah, which is a shame, because
And
I love Hollywood aesthetics in movies. I love gangster movies. I I've said before, The Sopranos is one of my all-time favorite shows. So, I'm a huge fan of gangster shit in movies. But I don't know, I just don't feel as though the gangster aspects of this movie are as interesting as they would be in other stuff.
Mhm. Like, if I were to actually see this film in theaters in 1995, I think my main takeaway would have just been, "Man, I should go back and rewatch, The Usual Suspects because
Mm.
it's, like, came out around the same time. I would consider both of them to be cable core type movies,
Mhm.
but also one of them is just way more interesting and
Yeah.
memorable because, like, that one has the longstanding, the greatest trick the devil ever made on, humanity was, of pretend was making us, think that he does not exist.
Yeah, Usual
And I mean,
Suspects.
that goes hard.
Yeah, that's
The
a
entire
great
movie
movie.
goes so hard.
That's such a
We
good
should just
movie.
rewatch that instead.
Usual Suspects rewatch. Yeah, I should. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember really liking it. I was thinking, and I wrote this in my review for Get Shorty. I feel like the concept needs someone like Tarantino in the director's chair to really breathe some energy into this, because again, I think that's biggest problem with this movie is the energy is so low that I can't say I'm as invested in this world as I should be. And I need someone like Tarantino. It doesn't even have to be Tarantino. I just think Tarantino, because this is the mid 90s and a lot of movies were trying to be Pulp Fiction, I feel like he could have done something with this concept after Pulp
Yeah,
Fiction.
and it just needs someone with a very unique visual flair and interesting vision of aesthetic
Yeah.
and shot composition. And unfortunately, there's just nothing like that being presented here.
Yeah.
I would assume that Barry Sonnenfeld would be able to do it because,
Mm-hmm.
again, Men in Black, Adam's Family duology, both of those films have the kind of thing that we're looking for and that we want to make and think this film needs in order for it to be successful. And
Absolutely.
yet he did not do anything with that sauce that he's already shown us he knows how to create. And it's just sad,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, it is sad.
Like he could have done something, but for whatever reason he didn't. And now I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not gonna act like this is the worst thing I've talked about on the podcast, and I'm not gonna say this was an entire waste of time. I'm just not as jazzed about it as I probably should be. I don't know.
Hmm.
I just can't really say this was the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and it honestly did have uh the concept there. I think it had something there that I could have seen it as the greatest thing ever made, but no, it's just fine, you know. It's just there. Would I watch it again? Not on my own volition, but I can't even really say like, oh, if I'm ever channel surfing and I come across it, I'll watch it because it's like I don't use cable anymore, so I'm never going to be passively watching something.
Yeah, instead it's the case of you're on Tubi and then Tubi recommends you watch this and you're like, nah, I'd
Yeah,
rather watch one of these other thousands of films
yeah.
on the streamer. Maybe watch the sequel because apparently this movie got a sequel 10 years later
That
that's
is
PG-13 instead of R.
very strange. Yes, the fact that it
That
has
I
a sequel.
And I believe based off of the synopsis I read, the sequel has literally nothing to do with the first film aside from having John Travolta's character.
Yeah, and I guess Danny DeVito's there too. But yeah, none of the other actors returned, so it's like that's bizarre. Um, were people really clamoring for a Get Shorty sequel?
I mean, at least with like something like Grease 2, it makes sense through the
Yeah,
context of Grease being like a thing.
yeah,
Same goes for like other sequels to movies that never needed a sequel and had most of the cast not there, like American Psycho or Mean Girls. It's like those films were something, so, like, I can understand the mentality.
yeah.
Was this film ever something?
I I don't know. I don't. I've
I don't
never
either.
I've never seen it as I mean I've never heard of it until I have it on DVD. And then I guess I mean it's popular enough that it has a banner on Letterboxd, so that's something. But in terms of lasting impact, I can't really see this as anything that should be in the collection. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, 85,000 logs on Letterboxd is
Mm.
nothing to scoff at,
Mm.
but, just because something gets a bunch of logs on Letterboxd doesn't necessarily mean that it's, like, too much of a thing, you know?
No, yeah.
Longlegs has over 1,000,000, logs, and yet I think that we're all going to come upon its one-year anniversary and be like, "Oh, yeah, that's the movie with Nicolas Cage
Yeah.
laughing in it."
Oh boy, I remember before I ever watched it, everybody I knew who watched it was just like, "Yeah, it's uh this is totally overhyped." I'm like, "Is it really?" And then I watch it and I would go, "Ah, oh yeah, this is overhyped." Oh boy. Remember when long legs was the most popular thing ever? I sure don't.
Uh, it was the most popular thing, and then The Substance became the most popular thing.
Oh, see,
Out
honestly, as look, as mixed as we all are on the substance, when I say we, I mean just our small group of friends, because it seems we're the only people who are very mixed on the substance. I see far more value in the substance than I do long legs.
Yeah, there's way more to at least talk about,
Oh yeah,
either positively or negatively about
oh
it in
yeah.
comparison to Longlegs, where really the most you can go is I like Nicolas Cage, and it was conceptually cool for, like, the first 20 minutes until it
Hmm.
did nothing with its concept.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But get shorty, uh, more like get out of town.
More like, give us a short episode of too many movies.
That's what we did, yeah. So yeah, like I said, I'm not keeping this Get Shorty DVD. I was really thinking about it because it's like, oh, I gave it a 6 out of 10, and I still stand by my 6 out of 10 rating because there are still good aspects to it. But I think this is another Dunkirk where I like it. It's a solid movie. I just don't see it really doing anything in the collection than other than collecting dust. So I don't see a point in keeping it around. So It's going to Bull Moose, unfortunately. I imagine you're not gonna keep it. I mean, you don't have it, and I don't think you're ever gonna
Oh
buy
no,
it.
I don't have it. I probably won't ever buy it unless it's like, I don't know, I walk into a thrift store and there's a good condition disc that's like
Mm.
50 cents and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I remember watching that. Might as well."
Good condition, 50 cents. That is very. I mean, it's possible. It is entirely possible, but oh boy, that is a very slim. If it does happen, now you have to get it.
Who knows? Maybe it'll end up being like a really expensive thing, but
Mm.
like if I'm going to spend like expensive money, I'm going to spend it on something like The Lone Ranger because Disney does not want to put that on Disney Plus
Oh, that's still not on
for
Disney
some
Plus.
reason.
Oh,
No, it's not. I assume it's because Johnny Depp plays an American Native Indian, and that's why.
which is weird.
But like
That's weird that that's where they cut it off, considering the other stuff they've put on Disney Plus and flash the
Disney
hey,
Plus just like confuses me so much because
yeah,
like some of the stuff they don't put on Disney Plus can be like explained. Like
right,
there's history behind Buzz Lightyear Star Command. I get that one. Why is House of Mouse not on Disney Plus? Beats me.
yeah,
I've tried to figure it out. Why is Make Mine Music not on Disney Plus? They probably just forgot
they
and
forgot.
haven't. There's literally never been real controversy surrounding that movie.
No, when I watched it, I was like, "Why? There's nothing offensive in here. Why is this not on Disney Plus?" And again,
There's like one segment of that film. It's the one with the two factions that shoot each other up and then go to heaven. There was some controversy surrounding one of the re-releases of the film coming out around the same time of a terrible school shooting.
ah,
But they solved the problem on the DVD release by just removing that segment of the film. So, like, what gives here?
I
They
don't
have
know.
the censored version of other Disney movies, like their version of Fantasia is the censored
Yeah,
one, which rightfully so. That the censored version is genuinely better than the uncut
it is
version of
better.
that of
Yeah,
Fantasia.
as much as I am very like anti censorship when it comes to a lot of stuff, at least the censored version of Fantasia is still a legitimately good film. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, no,
It's also like sometimes the censorship just works better. Like the Silly Symphony, Three Little Pigs, the uncensored version literally makes like no logical sense. And then you watch the censored version and you're like, I never even considered that this is the censored version because it just makes so much more sense what they changed.
yeah, but also if they're gonna have the offensive argument, they can't because they'll put up Dumbo, they'll put up Lady and the Tramp uncensored, and they'll just flash a warning being like, "Hey, there's some offensive stereotypes in this one," and it's like, "Yeah, cool, we get it, we understand why. We don't need to be we don't need to be told otherwise." So
Largely, I've kind of like flipped my boat a little bit on there because like I've grown to really understand that we live in a world with a lot of really stupid people. And at the end of the day, it's like that little warning is completely harmless. It's
yeah,
like,
I'm
okay,
fine
you're
with the
sitting
warning.
there for like 5 to 10 seconds watching it, and you get to watch an entirely uncut, basically uncut version of the film. Because sometimes there's also like other small little changes in Lady and the Tramp, right before the climax, Tramp is calling out to Lady by calling her bitch in the original version. And then if you like really listen in, they censored that in the re-releases of the film. And it's so awkward because they have him basically saying "bih, bih."
That rules.
They didn't even have like
Yeah,
the decency of just like redubbing it with like new lines or anything.
yeah.
No, they just sliced the word in half
Yeah, yeah. Tramp saying bitch is definitely the most offensive part of Lady and the Tramp. That's definitely what
for
they
sure.
Oh boy. Huh. Yeah, no, I this Disney Plus discussion was more interesting than Get Shorty. Get fucked.
Hmm.
Anyway, Ketchup. Again, thank you for coming on today's episode. Again, this was very last second. I was supposed to do an episode with Buster on this movie and Power Rangers 2017, but scheduling conflicts arose and I had to take away Get Shorty from Buster. They understand though. They understand. So,
Mm,
but again, thank you so much. This was huge for getting this
happy
out.
to come on whenever is needed of any service. I will watch like any but like 2 movies
I
for the
mean,
podcast.
I made you watch Get Shorty and the Slime People so far, so
And Ghostbusters 2016.
that's true too. Yeah. Well, I mean, Ghostbusters is going to be its whole thing anyway, but that's true. Yes, I did technically. That 2016 was my fault, and with it being included in the episode, but it was totally
Yeah.
worth it.
Very, very worth it for a very good discussion.
Exactly. And now we never have to watch it ever again.
Never ever.
Never ever. But yeah, no, this is the end of the episode, so you can shout out your stuff, dude. Where can people find you?
I have a letterbox. That's really it right now.
Cool.
I watch movies sometimes. I'm a little slow right now, but I'm probably going to be ramping up again soon. But I review stuff. I make dumb jokes. I have fun.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.